Breaking news in the Moscow murder case. The state of Idaho will seek the death penalty for this man, Bryan Kohberger, who's accused of killing 4 University of Idaho students last fall. The state wants justice for these 4 students: Kaylee Goncalves, Madison Mogen, Ethan Chapin, and Xana Kernodle. 4 young college students murdered last fall in an off-campus home. Thanks for joining us. I'm Aaron Luna.
And I'm Kirsten O'Connor. It doesn't happen often in Idaho, but we saw it coming. All the attorneys appointed in this case are qualified to handle a death penalty case. Today, Latah County Prosecutor Bill Thompson filed his notice of intent to seek the death penalty. He cites Idaho law that these murders were especially heinous, atrocious, or cruel, and showed utter disregard for human life. Idaho has executed 29 people since 1864 and only 3 people since the death penalty was reinstated in 1976.
These are the 8 people currently on Idaho death row. 7 men housed at the Idaho Maximum Security Prison near Boise, and 1 woman who is at the Women's Correctional Center in Pocatello. Idaho last executed someone in 2012, and just this year reinstated the firing squad as an acceptable form of capital punishment. The most recent Idaho death penalty case happened in our area. In 2017, a judge sentenced Jonathan Renfro to death row. He killed Coeur d'Alene Police Sergeant Greg Moore. Notorious serial killer Joseph Duncan was also sentenced to death, but not in Kootenai County. A federal judge sentenced Duncan to death. He killed 4 members of a Coeur d'Alene family and kidnapped and tortured 2 young children there. He died of a brain tumor on federal death row in 2021.
The announcement today comes the day before a hearing that could put this entire case on pause. Tonight at 6, Jordan Smith explains why the defense says this case needs to be on hold.
Well, the defense and prosecution are clashing over what materials can be handed over from that grand jury indictment which indicted Kohberger on murder charges. Information that the defense argues is crucial to have in order to fight off these charges. On Tuesday, the Latah County Courthouse will be home to multiple hearings. Kohberger's attorneys and the state fighting over the release of evidence and whether this case should be put on hold. The defense is pressing Judge John Judge to force the state to disclose more information on critical pieces of evidence that linked Kohberger to the crime. Kohberger's team is asking how investigators determined the white sedan outside the apartment to be a Hyundai Elantra, and how extensively lab analysts tested DNA that was found near the crime scene belonging to 2 unidentified males. Saying the defense is to guess whether the state focused its investigation on Mr. Kohberger via a bizarrely complex DNA tree experiment or through its faulty identification of the vehicle involved in this case. In a motion to compel discovery, Kohberger is asking for a list of items to be disclosed, including any communication between lab personnel and another party discussing DNA testing in this case, all reports generated by any lab that tested any samples in this case, and all documents that show the comparison of any DNA samples collected through the genealogy investigation. Prosecutors say much of what the defense is asking for either doesn't exist or isn't required of them to turn over. And Kohberger's attorneys will also bring in 2 witnesses to poke holes in the accuracy of genealogy, which helped investigators find a link between the DNA left behind on a knife sheath and Kohberger. Those hearings are slated to begin at 1:30 tomorrow afternoon. We'll have a crew down there and keep you updated with the very latest developments from tomorrow's events. In studio, Jordan Smith, 4 News Now.